It has been 2 days since Keldrian the Unhinged led their forces to this abandoned outpost outside the ruins of Pavona. In that time, all Argus of the Moors had done was watch Keldrian blast the keep with his magic again and again. So continuous was the flow of magic, Argus began to feel the boundaries between this world and the realms of chaos start to weaken. He was worried that Keldrian was unaware of the weakening of the barrier, and found a moment to intrude upon his master's orgy of destruction. "Master!" Argus called. Keldrian halted his magic and looked to Argus with an annoyed look on his face. "What is it, Argus? Can't you see I'm busy?" "I can, Master, but I wonder what it is you are doing." "Argus, why do you ask such stupid questions? I'm digging." "Digging through a keep, Master? Why?" "Because I will reach its chewy center." Argus saw that his master was deep in the grip of his madness, and wisely chose to back away rather than push for more answers. Keldrian began chanting words of powers and dark blasphemies, and his magic was unleashed on the sad remains of the destroyed keep, and the very ground gave way under his mystical assault. As the huge sinkhole was created, Argus was surprised to hear cries of alarm as the earth opened up. He looked down to see mining tunnels revealed by the destruction, and a number of dwarvish miners and vanguard troops pulling themselves from the rubble. Amazed, Argus looked to his master to offer his respect for finding new enemies, but he held his tongue when he saw that the madness had not yet left the eyes of Keldrian. "Argus," the mad mage hissed, "we have found the chewy center, and a most fitting offering to the Lord of Change. Let us destroy them." So we've got a pretty standard battle line scenario going here. However, I do have a special mission. I am attempting to unlock the lore of Tzeentch for my wizard, Keldrian. So Michael has challenged me to a rather interesting mission. On that hill in the center, you see that there is a dwarf runesmith surrounded by 5 hammerers. They are panicked and fleeing after the explosion that Keldrian has created. So at the start of each turn, they're going to flee a d6 inches from the nearest troop of any type. And if they're charged, they'll flee 2d6 like a normal unit. I have to declare a charge on this unit and catch them after they flee to represent me capturing the unit for sacrifice to Tzeentch. If I can do that before the end of the game, I will unlock the lore of Tzeentch. So it's an interesting game setup. So let's go ahead and see what deployment is. And I guess first we'll look at a picture of the runesmith and his 5 hammer guards. But let's go ahead and get into deployment. So the dwarves start off on the left with 24 Ironbreakers. With them is Gris Stonebeard, his general and runesmith, and Ferric, the bearer of the van, his BSB. Next to them is a unit of, looks like another 24 warriors with great weapons. They only have standard and musician there. I guess he wants to give me less guys I can challenge for Eye of the Gods table. Then we have one lone, I think it's Dragon Slayer, who's an unnamed character, but he wanted to give him a try and see what he could accomplish. And then last but not least, there is an organ gun way over here by itself. I think it's over here because I kind of faked Michael out a little bit. I started putting my chaff on this side of the board. He deployed the organ gun, and then I moved everything else to the other side of the board out of range of it. So you can see what I put across from the organ gun is just 2 chaff units of Chaos Hounds, 5 each, no upgrades, so they're like 30 points a pop. Then everything else is over here. I start with 3 trolls with additional hand weapons, my unit of 15 warriors of Khorne with additional hand weapons, and they have the Banner of Rage now. With them is Argus of the Moors, additional hand weapon, scaly skin, no big whoop. Up on the hill is Keldrian the Unhinged, my level 2 Lore of Metal on a disc. And then up front I'm trying something new. I have a 5-man unit of Chosen of Zinch, so they're like 3 up, 5 up. And the result I got on the Eye of the Gods at the start of the game gave them an additional point of strength, so they're strength 5. So that's pretty cool. It's a very small unit, but I'm interested to see if it can have any worthwhile impact. So the dwarves get turn 1, and since my dogs and his warriors were equidistant from the runesmith here, we rolled randomly and it chose to flee from the dwarves towards me. So this is where it ends up at the start of that random movement. And then the dwarves turn and start moving towards the bulk of my forces. I have the spell Plague of Rust, so my hope is to kind of hang back and just blast the Iron Breakers with Plague of Rust until they have no more armor. And then I am thinking that my warriors should be able to chop them up pretty good, but I'm going to take advantage of the fact that it's going to take forever for the dwarves to cross that big open space. So then we go into shooting. The organ gun takes aim at the closest dogs to the runesmith and kills 2 of them. The other 3 panic and start to run. So we go into my turn 1. The dogs do not rally, but they run a pathetically small amount of space. And I don't remember if I have another picture of this, but you can see the other dog unit I've hidden behind the fence there, hoping to get close enough for a charge on him next turn while still having enough cover. Maybe he won't blow me to Kingdom Come. Yep, and here's just a better picture of showing that. And so now that the dogs are dying, I'm thinking maybe I can send the Chosen to go pick up the sacrifice. So they move and start coming this way, and Keldrian comes off the hill to get within range of some spell casting. And everybody here comes to present a line. My aim here is to basically convince my opponent that I'm ready to come charge at him, while giving me room to throw those spells and slowly work the trolls over a little bit so that I'll be able to get a flank charge in when he does bring his guys too close. And I think we forgot to do movement of this guy at the beginning of the turn, so we did it now. He turns around from the dogs and runs an inch back towards the hill. So we go to the dwarf turn. They start straightening up their lines. He's got the Iron Breakers up a little further forwards because he wants me to charge and hit that unit, which is absolutely what I do not want to do. And the Dragon Slayer jumps up, or whichever one is, it's a hero level character, whichever one it is, I think it is Dragon, steps up onto the hill there. Then during shooting, organ gun goes off again, kills 2 more dogs, and they turn and flee. So then it's my turn. I charge my Chosen into the dwarves. They turn around and flee 12 inches and run all the way over here, which is just the absolute worst possible thing I could have happen. No chance I'm going to get them, so I redirect the Chosen into the Dragon Slayer on the hill. And I make that charge. So I'm hoping here I'll get him in with the champion. Champion's got to clear a challenge. I'll kill the Slayer and be awesome. I'll get some buff from the Chaos table and it'll be a good day. At least that's the hope. So I fail to rally these dogs and they run off the table. And I succeed to rally these dogs. So this actually, if he cannot blow me the hell up next turn, gives me the chance to catch the Dwarf Runesmith, or at very least drive him back towards where all my other troops are to make it a little easier. So here I move Keldrian back behind my lines to give me more space to throw the Plague of Rust spell. But it was kind of dumb because I forgot that the other one, the Glittering Cloak I have, is 12-inch range, so I moved out of where I could have helped the Chosen, which was frustrating and stupid. But hopefully they'll be able to hold on their own without that help. So during Magic Phase, I had a really good Magic Phase. I hit the Iron Breakers with Plague of Rust and got Glittering Scales up on my warriors just in case he happens to long bomb charge it. And then over here, this fight was just pathetic. My warrior got... I don't even know if I got a wound on him at this point. But it doesn't matter because the Dwarf Slayer turned around and just turned him into chop suey. I was rolling a 4-up, 5-up, and couldn't roll for crap. So he dies. I end up winning this by my musician, and he's unbreakable, so whatever. So we go to the top of next turn. The dwarves see the Chaos Dogs coming. They turn and run. And the dwarf line starts spreading out a little bit. He definitely wants to offer up those Iron Breakers as an enticing target, but I'm not dumb. I know those Iron Breakers are going to hold me up forever and set him up for flank charges, so I in no way want to go into the front of them. And then during shooting, the organ gun liquefies the remainder of the dog unit. So now I've got nothing on the side of the board where my targets are running around at, and I think my ability to succeed on this mission is rapidly sliding away from me. And so, start of next turn, now that the stuff on the hill is the closest, the dwarves turn around and flee that way again. And here you see I start backing up a little with the warriors, and the trolls are starting to slide in that direction to go for the flank of the Iron Breakers. Because I'll hit them in the side. If I can get a side charge on them, I'll be more than happy to do that, but I'm sure as hell not hitting them in the front if I can at all avoid it. So we go into combat here, and this is finally when I put one wound on the freaking Slayer. Luckily, though, my armor is coming through. He gets 3 wounds through, but I stop all 3 of them. So we go into dwarf turn. My opponent realizes that I'm not going to come for him, so he starts moving up slowly. He doesn't want to overextend himself, and he's making sure that he's moving kind of at an angle so those trolls are not going to get into his flank. And the dwarves continue to run because the closest thing to them is still that stuff on the hill, so they're getting further and further away. Then with all of his targets blocked up, my opponent decides to start moving his organ gun towards this building here so that he can loot it for gold for the campaign. And then during combat, my chosen finally kill the dwarf slayer and reform to face the side of the warrior unit. So we go into start of my turn, and now that reform was done, the organ gun is actually the closest thing, so they turn and start fleeing towards my side of the board. So in my turn, I did nothing but shuffling around a little bit. I did manage to get Plague of Rust off on his warriors this time, so they're just 6-up armor. So we go into dwarf turn, and he fails. He tries to charge both of these units into my warriors, needing a 7 on one and an 8 on the other, and fails both of them. So he is in a terrible position right now. Now he's close enough for easy charges, and I can pick where I want to go. And then to make things worse, he moves his 3 inches to put the organ gun into the building, attempts to loot it, and gets the traps result, which inflicts D6 strength 5 hits on him. He rolls really badly, and the organ gun and its crew are killed by traps while trying to loot the building. So then we go into my turn, and obviously I'm going to pick on the easier of the 2 units. Chosen slam into the side of the Great Weapon Warriors, and my Warriors slam dead into their front. And I've got a lot of fast, strong hits here, and he's got no armor now that he's only a 6-up. I'm fully expecting to delete this unit and overrun past the point where the Iron Breakers can get to me. And in a last-ditch effort to get this done, Keldrian decides to abandon his troops and go running after the sacrifice. You'll notice that Keldrian is not standing as high as he was. I picked him up, and the little plastic thing holding him up just broke right in half, so I'm going to have to figure out a way to fix that. So we go into combat. Yeah, I beat him down to only 4 Great Weapon Dwarves in the unit before they even got to swing. They did kill 3 of the warriors, but it wasn't even close. He broke. I did not catch him, so he is running towards the edge of the board. You'll notice there I also moved the trolls over so that I was protecting my flank, just in case I did get stuck, because crazier things have happened. So... Go to the dwarf turn, the Iron Breakers charge into the trolls, but because they were so close, they can't get too many guys in with the limited wheel space they had. He fails to rally the 3 remaining warriors, and they flee towards the edge of the board. I will have one. This is top of 6, so I will have one last chance to chase them off the board or catch them to get those points. So we go into combat. The trolls try. They manage to vomit twice on his runesmith, but only one of them wounded, and the rest of the dwarves beat them to death. Unit broke and was run down, so he did get the points for those guys. So, bottom of turn 6, Chosen charge the remaining warriors. They flee off the table, and I get points for them. And over here, Keldrian tries to charge the sacrifices. They prove yet again they want nothing to do with this and roll something like a 10 or 11 to flee. I got no chance of catching them. So that is a mission failed and the game. To the hills, Forik called out, the remaining dwarves making strides to leave behind the sudden and brutal melee. Had they been better prepared, perhaps they would have fared better. Though thanks to the efforts of their organ gun and the heroism of their slayer, not all was lost. The Rune Lord they had been escorting had managed to escape, so truly there was some benefit to this. As they cleared the low hills and managed to gain more breathing room, Forik looked to what remained of his force. "Rolus," he called to the runesmith, "see to the injured, and send a few scouts to cover our tracks." The smith nodded in acknowledgement and quickly sent out the orders as they proceeded back to one of their possible mining sites. It took them the rest of the day, but they had finally made their way to the tunnel that seemed to lead into some unknown catacomb. They had thought that they were free of danger, but in the shadows lurked another evil to bear. The Dark Elves. But this time the Dawi would fight in their own realm. So the victory did go to Warriors of Chaos, but it was not a great victory. I didn't get to loot anything during the game, and so my victory roll of doubling my money only gave me a 2d6 roll, which resulted in 10 gold pieces. Furthermore, I failed to capture the runesmith and did not unlock the lore of Tzeentch. So, all in all, it was a win in the record books, but not the best that I've ever had. But it was even worse for the dwarves. Their one attempt to loot gold resulted in the organ gun being killed, and because they lost, they rolled on the ignoble defeat table and rolled the only good result there, something to prove. So the next game the dwarves play, all of the units that were in this army, which is Ironbreakers, Warriors, and the organ gun, automatically get hatred. So he doesn't have to roll for those units, no matter what his army gets. So for the dwarves, it's probably the least good, but it's better than another leadership penalty or a deserting unit. So I'd be pretty happy with that given how this went. So this was a pretty interesting game. It also may be the fastest game of Warhammer I've ever played. This whole game took about 40 minutes, as best as I can tell. Which will be interesting because it means that the battle report is going to be fully half the length of the entire game. From what I talked to Michael about afterwards, there was a little bit of confusion of how we were doing the deployment for this particular scenario. So he built a list that, well, frankly, isn't what he would have taken had he known this setup. Furthermore, I think just Michael has this weird objection to chaff. He really, really needs it for both of his armies, and he just is absolutely refusing it. He seems to argue that the gyrocopters are too expensive to use as chaff, which I think is bullcrap. But I did convince him to at least give some Slayer darts a try to see if that'll help at all. I think the flying gyrocopters are going to be better for that aim, but at least with the Slayers he can kind of run and protect his flanks and stop me from kind of pulling those kind of shenanigans. So we'll see how well that works in the future. All in all, Warriors list is pretty much what I was doing with it. I do like the addition of the 5 Chosen. I'm not sure I'm crazy about the dogs, but it gives me some chaff and some fast moving units, so I kind of like that idea. I may play with this. Excuse me. It's very late and I'm very tired when I'm recording this. I may try it again see just how it works. I definitely think I rolled really well with the Chosen here to get the +1 strength. That's pretty awesome. And I may play around with it with the, what is it? The Shrine as well to see if I can't get another little bump and maybe like spit out some Demon Princes. As I do have to say, I feel sorry, at least early on, to anybody who I get a Demon Prince for, because in our 1,000 point armies, we really just don't have anything that's going to be able to deal with even a naked Demon Prince. But all in all, it was a fun game. Hope you guys enjoyed watching it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, we will catch you next time. Thanks.